Cześć, z tej strony Piotr Maciejczak z kanału Uwaga, Piotr Maciej.
The Affliction League mechanic is really good at juicing your maps, and it kind of works like Magic Find. So I decided to try it out with a few things like Abyss, and oh my god, there is so much loot. I've tested a few other currency strategies on this channel, and usually I'll fill up one dump tab. Maybe I'll put a few other things in an overflow tab. Never before have I had to use 2 full dump tabs that are completely filled to the brim with stuff, including full stacks of currencies, and 3 more tabs, and I'm pretty sure I lost track of like an inventory's worth of loot somewhere along the way. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about here, and I'm going to get into it. Starting with a little bit on how I'm farming things, my Atlas setup, and then the results of farming 50 maps, along with a little bit of a cost breakdown. With Gilded Abyss Scarabs and the additional Abyss Sextant. This is very important because Abysses add a massive amount of rare monsters, especially when Abyss ends in a Stygian Spire. If you watched the Week 1 meta report, you'll know Wild-empowered Stygian Spires gain extra projectiles, and each projectile summons more monsters. So this is a great way to add a ton of extra monsters to your map. The second thing I'm doing is Harbingers with the Harbinger Currency Sextant and a Gilded Harbinger Scarab. This adds several Harbingers to my map, which can drop fracturing shards that are very, very lucrative right now. And furthermore, they summon, you guessed it, more rare monsters, and rare monsters can be empowered, which is a good thing for the strategy. Third up, I'm doing Expedition for my next Scarab. Gilded, again, to get the most consistent profits possible. Really, Expedition's just about adding a bunch of extra monsters. And my last Scarab is Rusted Sulfite. This is simply so I can click the sulfite piles in my map. I'm not actually delving with it. I probably shouldn't have wasted it all, but then this would have taken even longer to make as a video. And so I decided to just use it for max res, which is extra defenses. You'll need it. Empowered monsters hit hard. Movement speed, clear your maps much faster, and a bit of extra damage, which probably never hurt anyone. For the last 2 sextants, on the other hand, I was using Possessed Monsters drop a Gilded Scarab since I was running Seance for Possessed Monsters, since they have the massive loot bonuses, which multiplies with the League mechanic, and Rituals, because Ritual resurrects monsters, especially the bosses, so on a triple boss map like City Square, it seemed like a really good idea, and overall the profits did support that. So now let's take a quick look at the Atlas passive tree that I'm using. Feel free to screenshot this next section and use it as a handy reference. So here we have the tree. First up, and most importantly, if you have 7th gate, you need all 6 other gateways allocated. These are both Eldritch gateways, both Cryptic gateways, and both Mortal gateways. That's why I have these weird points coming down here for no discernible reason. It's just to allocate the Mortal gateway. In terms of blockers, I'm blocking Ritual Altars because I'm forcing them on with a Sextant so they don't need to appear naturally. I'm blocking Blight because I simply don't want to deal with the amount of lag it generates. I'm blocking Ultimatum because the monsters get scaled up by the Wisps and the rewards don't. And I'm blocking Heist because there's not really that much value to it when you're doing maps relatively slowly. First up, I have Pact of Energy. This is why I'm adding Sulfite to my maps. It's a great 2-point investment, and it adds quite a lot of value. For Expedition, I took Big Boom, Danig, Buried Knowledge. Really simple Expedition tree. For Harbinger, I took all the Harbinger nodes. Seance is really just for extra ghosts, and then I grabbed this so that my ghosted monsters are better. I tried Tormented Spirits for a little bit. Ultimately, it didn't feel worth it because chasing ghosts kinda sucks. Ritual, again, is really just about extra rare monsters, so all I grabbed is Occult Devotion. You could probably go with a rolling strategy as well. I didn't do so because I just wanted to kill more monsters in my maps. And then last up, the star of the show is Abyss. I'm taking a lot of the Abyss nodes to get Abyss pack size, extra stuff, such as 4 pits. As a note, only 1 Abyss in your map can lead to an Abyssal Depths, so you'll get 4 pits from the other 2 or 3. And of course, I'm using Eater. A big part of the strategy is killing the boss first, then clicking as many Quant Altars as possible. So be careful about having extra charges, as you will want to be clicking all of the Quant Altar mods that say things like less recovery or less crit or less defenses per charge that you have. Luckily, my build only runs 2 frenzy charges, so it's not too punishing, as I could survive in the maps even without my evasion rating. So that's the version of the Atlas tree, at least for how I'm running it. You could also do a Wandering Path Legion strategy. I just chose not to because I really wanted to maximize Abyss as much as possible, which meant keeping my notables. So now for a little quick math. Again, for all of these materials, you need to price check it for yourself, as I cannot guarantee prices haven't changed since I bought all this stuff. But I was spending 2 chaos on every map to put Abyss on with the map device. This is why we have 7th Gate. For my sextants, I was using Harbinger, Abyss, Ritual, Gilded Scarab. Harbinger cost 9C, Abyss 5C, Ritual 5C, Gilded Scarab 25C, or 11C per map in sextants. In Scarabs, on the other hand, Gilded Harbinger 7.5C, Gilded Expedition 7, Gilded Abyss 8C, Rusted Sulfite 2C, which means you're looking at a little under 25 chaos. So it's around 48 chaos in total for everything that I'm doing. And honestly, you could easily use Polished or even Rusted Expedition and Harbinger with a minimal profit loss. It's just about that Gilded Abyss. It is mandatory because you really want every Abyss possible to lead to a Spire. For 50 maps, at around 48C map, counting things like the base map itself and rolling costs, I spent around 13 Divines in total for 50 maps. Remember that, it's going to be relevant later. Now, let's take a look at how I'm running the maps. So first up, I'd always beeline it straight to the League mechanic. In here, I'm looking for wisps. If you want to know more about how to farm wisps, then check out our Affliction farming guide over at MaxwellGG. But in short, follow the colors. Blue is the best, after blue, yellow or purple, and I wasn't really showing too much priority to either one, I just wanted the most wisps possible. If I got under 4,000, the loot was going to be very underwhelming, so I was aiming for 4,000 to 7,000 from each map, which usually meant trying to find both trails to an event. After that, I would beeline straight to the center of the map and try to avoid killing monsters along the way. This is because I didn't want to spawn boss altars, I wanted to spawn quant altars, so I needed to kill off the boss. Handily enough, this also set things up if there was ever a ritual in the center of a map. Oh, and the bosses had pretty decent loot too, so that's always a plus. After killing the boss, there's 2 ways to do it. The slightly insane way that I did on the most juicy maps, and the completely normal way. The slightly insane way is to go around killing all the monsters to proc all of your quant altars, then trigger your abysses, then do your rituals, then kill your harbingers, then do all the things that add a ton of extra value. You'll get the most possible drops this way, but it also effectively doubles the amount of time that you take to clear a map. So for me, it was kind of a difference between 8 minutes and 15 minutes. Which sounds like a lot, but when you're dropping 5 raw divines in the map because it was just that juicy, it's absolutely worth taking double the time. However, for most maps, I didn't do that. Instead, I just cleared in a circle, going through and doing the abysses as I found them. This was a lot more time efficient, and you could even go back and loot after all the monsters were dead, especially if your build isn't tanky enough to just face tank everything. Now, I have no idea what sort of DPS thresholds you will need for this, but you will need to be able to kill empowered monsters. My current build, Poison Scourge Arrow Pathfinder, is more than capable of doing that. In fact, I could even kill the empowered monsters with Delirium without an issue. And if you want to know how I built my character, well, I'll link to a guide up in the card and down below that you can check out after this. Some things to look out for while clearing the map included fractured items, stuff from the vendors from the League mechanic, logbooks from Expedition. Of course, if you happen to drop it, Valo's puzzle box. This came up pretty commonly whenever I had a lot of juice. Voidborn Reliquary Keys, Forbidden Tomes, and fractured items. Yes, you should definitely check and identify fractured items, because on the one hand, a lot of them are junk. On the other hand, here's an example of a 12 Divine Quiver that I got as a fractured drop. So sometimes it is 100% worth it to check for fractured stuff, identify it, and take a look. In general, you want evasion bases, bows, quivers, the sort of things that are in very high demand. And you don't have to worry about that random armor ES pair of boots, because most people aren't wearing armor ES boots, therefore it's a lot less desirable. Though if you want to check it, I mean, it could actually be profitable depending on how long it's taking you to clear each map. The reason I'm not really talking about this strategy in terms of currency per hour is because I think, depending on your build, there's going to be an extremely high variance in time to clear. So if you want to know what your currency per hour is, you're just going to have to test it. But I am going to break down a lot of what I got and talk about things in terms of currency per map. So speaking of, let's get into that just a little bit. So this took me 5 total tabs of storage with a kind of ridiculous amount of value. I'm not going to go through every single thing here. but I'm going to try to cover the broad strokes and most important items. For all the other stuff, I am going to just use TFT's bulk selling tool to get a rough estimate of the price. Furthermore, for certain things, I'm going with bulk pricing metrics because I'm going to be honest, when you have almost 200 Stygian vases, you are not checking and selling those individually. You're putting them all up for a bulk price, or you're doing the crazy thing, which is investing most of this money and crafting on them on a live stream. Or maybe that's just me. By the way, get subscribed if you want to see that. So first up, I have my sale tab. This is where I put the bigger individual items or things that need to be sold separately. And you can see I have about 400 chaos and 14 divines. This was from selling fractured items as I went. Things like the quiver that I mentioned earlier, which sold for 12 divines. I also have a couple of extra maps, no cortexes sadly, a perfect hulking miscreation, which is about 85 chaos, a bunch of forbidden tomes, which is about 1.5 divines, screaming invitations, again, about 1.5 divines, voidborn reliquary keys, a little under 1 divine each, so about 2 total. We've got an Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts, which last I checked was about 4 divines. We've got some fracturing orbs here. One fracturing orb is around 13 divines. This is 1.05, so let's just say about 13. Some expedition logbooks. There's a good number here. Total of 5, 10, 15, 16. And I estimated this to be about 720 chaos after adding up all the different types. And last up, while I have it here, and I don't quite know how much it's going to sell for, I have this very nice Eyes of a Great Wolf that I estimate is worth between 15 and 40 divines. I actually got this on one of my last maps, so I have it up for 35 and I'm going to lower the price. I'm not counting this in the total that you will see. So everything else will be tallied together. This is going to be tracked separately. And the last very important thing is Vivaldo's puzzle boxes, which are worth quite a lot. These 8 are about 2,640 chaos by my estimate, and probably still rising. So if anything, I've gained money over my farming period because they've gone up and I've been collecting them. So everything in this tab, not counting the Eyes of a Great Wolf, is about 57 divines total.
With Virgin Media's winter sale savings, pick up great deals in our lightning fast broadband. So why pay more when you can soar into 2024? Act fast, act lightning fast. Virgin Media. See what you can do. Visit virginmedia.com.
Next, we have this dump tab, which has 21 divines in the raw, easily price-checked currency. you can see there's just 7 divine orbs sitting there. There's a bunch of chaos. That's about 200 chaos on top of the 21 divines, because TFT's bulk tool doesn't actually price check chaos orbs. Should be noted, the main value here is scarabs. If I turn on the scarab filtering, Gilded Torment, lots of those. Gilded Ambush, Gilded Reliquary, Gilded Blight. These scarab conversion arch nemesis style loot explosions are absolutely insane with this strategy. Then I've got a bunch of maps. I'm estimating that's about 395C, 158 Stygian Vises. I have a lot more Vises from just other testing and stuff. So yeah, I estimated the Stygian Vises at 790C, which is the bulk price for 5C each. So this entire tab has around 29 divines in total. Then we have Dump 2, where I put even more of the currency type items. The bulk pricing here is around 79 divines, and we've got quite a few chaos: 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and 40C. So we're looking at around 84 divines in total in this tab. Remember, a lot of that value is in the scarabs. Oh, and there's like 15 raw divines sitting in here. Or is it 25? I'm not sure. I lost track. I think it's 15 though. There were some maps where I got multiple raw divine drops, so it was pretty cool to see all of those. Kind of felt like I was MFing even though I wasn't. I'm pretty sure I more or less sustained Gilded Abyss Scarabs, which is